Hello and welcome back to Back Corner Comics. Today we're going to be talking about the Secret Six Omnibus Volume 1 by Gail Simone. So to kind of preface, I was going into this book not knowing a lot about, Gail Simone's writing or specifically these characters. I'm interested in Catman just because he looks like Batman, really. So whenever I actually sat down to read it, I was pleasantly surprised by the cast of characters and just like the overall writing. I understand that Gail Simone is this really star writer at DC, and she's done some stuff for Marvel too, but she's specifically known for her DC work. And I kind of just jumped into the deep end with this book, and I really, really enjoyed it. Um, I think it's great. I think it's definitely worth picking up if you are interested in teams like the Suicide Squad. But yeah, let's just crack into it. I just want to show the design on this. As you can tell, it is very nice. The spines are gorgeous. I have volume 2 as well, and they match up really well. Here's the back. Let's take the dust jacket off. But the whole design of this book is just phenomenal. Mine is kind of weird with the binding here, but I think that's just my copy. But the writing in this feels kind of like Bronze Age in a way, and I mean that in a good way. The art is the beginning. I think it's Dave Inglesham is the artist in the beginning. I'm not sure where I can get to that, but yeah, this starts off very strong. It starts off with Catman kind of denying to join the Society of Evil Villains or whatever. I forget the exact name, but he denies the invitation, and they don't like that. So, they kill his cats, and then he joins them. But essentially, or he doesn't join them. Sorry, he joins the Secret Six, which is being put together by a shady person named Mockingbird. If you're familiar with Suicide Squad, you know that Suicide Squad members are there based off of blackmail, and this is no different. Their hideout, their headquarters, is actually the House of Secrets, which is, if you're familiar with that Bronze Age horror title, you know that it's an anthology-based kind of comic, and the house plays a part in the stories. I've actually never read those, so if you recommend getting that omnibus, let me know. I'm very interested in DC Bronze Age. I've read a little bit thanks to the DC Finest line. There we go, so you guys can get a better idea of the art. But the entire cast here feels fleshed out. There's really no character that feels left out in terms of characterization. So Simone is really good at kind of making sure that all these characters have agency. Here's Catman looking a lot like Batman. I feel like the artist just really wanted to draw Batman, so he did that. But Catman is awesome. Like, Catman is a lot of fun. And Catman seems to be the center of all of the character development in a way. A lot of the plot lines center around him. I don't want to say too much, but like Cheshire really wants to like be with him physically and romantically because she knows he'll give him a good kid. You have Scandal Savage, who is the daughter of Randall Savage. Again, I don't know a lot about DC lore, so if you guys can point me in directions to where I can read some of these prior stories about these characters, that would be really cool. Ragdoll is awesome. I loved kind of reading Ragdoll. I think Ragdoll as a character is very interesting. He's kind of like the wild card in the group of weirdos. He's weirder than the weirdos. And a lot of the story here feels like here they have like stealth outfits to stealthily attack this specific compound. But yeah, it feels like a spy thriller, especially the beginning where you have the Secret Six against the Society of Villains. God, look at this art. This whole comic. It was a blast. I loved it every second. I think it's made me a Gail Simone fan, and I think that if you like DC, you should really pick this up. And if you're on the fence about getting it, I say just go ahead and get it. You're not going to have a bad time with this. I could only see someone not liking this as if they do not like spy thriller type of stories, or stories that are team based as opposed to like a solo character. But again, even if you do like solo characters, Simone does a really good job at, like I said, giving all of these characters agencies and their motivations, and sometimes those motivations clash, and it's really neat to kind of see that happen, you know, because they get so close, they get so friendly with one another. So something I do want to point out, though, is there is a bit of a reading order issue here, where this is supposed to be... So this is supposed to be read before this part. You know, Omar and OmniDog have made videos about this, and they're way more qualified to be talking about that. But I just wanted to say that if this is your first exposure to this book, you know, you want to read this after you read this, because this has a spoiler for this. It was like they had an issue when they put the book together. But don't let that detract you from picking this up, because it is a very good book. The Mad Hatter plays a part in the Secret Six at a certain point. And let me tell you guys something. Simone writes Mad Hatter to be this freak. Again, I'm not sure about Mad Hatter. The only exposure I had to him as a Batman villain was in the Arkham games. And then there is a part where I believe he's in the Arkham Asylum Grant Morrison book that he did with Dave McKean. And that was like my only exposure to him. So, but he's super freaky in this, guys. Oh my God. Like an absolute freak. Very spooky, very scary. And I think she does a good job at like, look at that. What the heck is he doing, guys? But I think she does a really good job at showing that. But yeah, if you like darker stories with superheroes, you know, if you like team stories with individual characters that have agency, I think this is like a must buy. And then on top of that, you know, I think like James Gunn was influenced by this story in terms of like Guardians of the Galaxy. This feels like Guardians of the Galaxy. And this began in like 2005. So very interesting stuff in that regard. I think this has more influence over the Suicide Squad movie than you would initially think, you know, and maybe I'm wrong on that. You know, I know that there's a John Ostrander storyline that he did with Suicide Squad that James Gunn says influenced his run. But I don't know if it's as witty and snarky and quirky as the Secret Six is by Gail Simone. But yeah, so that's kind of like the overview of this. I say pick it up. It's typically kind of cheap on Amazon. That is not how I bought it, but you know, I've seen it for like $50 on Amazon, and I really think at that price point, I mean, it's super worth it. But yeah, that is the Secret Six Omnibus Volume 1. This is Back Corner Comics. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It does a great deal of good for the channel, and I appreciate all of the viewership. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.